crafters, welcome back to my channel, Margaret Knob Designs. I appreciate you joining me to go through this tutorial. This tutorial is for Easter eggs that are made out of paper. I was looking for something special for Easter time, and I know this is past Easter, but I had posted this online and I had several people asking about making this project with the eggs. I have to tell you right up front, this is not my own project. I didn't design this or create this myself. I saw a couple other people on YouTube or online that have done this pattern. The one that I had watched the last time was Sam Calcutt at Mixed Up Craft. Take a look at her YouTube channel. Yeah, she's got a lot of items that she makes, or whether they're originals or she's modified them a little bit to her designs, but she's got some great projects. So I encourage you to go and check out her channel. So what I would like to do today is show you how to make these eggs. One thing that I excuse me. Oh, I'll be right back. My apologies, I've got something caught in my throat here today. So what I'd like to do is show you how to do or make this tutorial, and I've used some pattern papers from some of the Easter pattern papers that I have, but I'd like to bring your attention to this. This is some paper that was left over from another project that I have, Bloom Where You're Planted, from Country Craft Creations, and I think I'm going to go back and make several of these eggs because I've got a bit of that paper left over from my 8x8. So one of the things I was taught, oh, excuse me again, I'm so sorry. So let's get started on the eggs, and I'm going to give you the measurements and I will show you how I am scoring on all of these. So first of all, with the paper, I have tried a couple different weights on the paper. So my suggestion would be is to use like an 80-pound weight or a 65-pound weight. The 65-pound weight works really well, especially if you have inexpensive paper that you'd like to use. This is an 80-pound My Colors cardstock, and it's also got some texture to it, and it works really good. The one thing about these eggs is that I've tried a couple different ways to be able to tie them, so that I could tie them on the top, and I could do it by hanging it, but what I wanted to do was to be able to tie them so that I could reuse them year after year. But I haven't really been, you can see I've got a hole in here, and then I had a hole on top. You can see that I've tried to do a couple of things, but I couldn't quite get them to hold. One of the other things I was going to try was using some Velcro, but I think that they might end up being too thick in order to really hold those down. So I'm just going to go with it and make it kind of a one-time thing. And so that's why using 65-pound cardstock and some of your designer paper leftovers is a great idea, because then you don't feel so bad about creating an egg and then having to rip it open. So let me show you with this paper. This is a 80-pound paper, and this is cut at 6 1/4 by 4 1/2. So 6 1/4 by 4 1/2. And once you get that taken care of, cut out, I figured that I can cut 3 of these out of a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and the reason why I can't cut more is because the 6 1/4, if it was a measurement of 6, which I possibly could do, I could see if I could get it more cleanly done, I could get more eggs out of a 12 by 12. I haven't tried that, but go ahead and see if it would work out for you. So we're going to start off by putting our 6 1/4 side up. We're going to score down at 3/4 of an inch, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, then 3, then 3 3/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, 5 1/4, and then our final one is 6. And then you're going to take this and turn it so that the 1/4 of an inch is at the bottom, and you're going to score along here at 3/4 of an inch, and then at 1 1/2, and 2 1/4, and 3 3/4. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put this back on the scoreboard, and we're going to make marks so that we can angle burnish into the pieces of this cardstock. This is just the way that I've done it. Some people like to measure and use a pencil. For me, this seems to work really good. The one thing that did not work real well for me with my scoring on these is I have, my cutter is also a scoring tool, but I found that I got much better consistent scores if I did it on the scoreboard versus on my score and cutting tool. So that would just be my recommendation. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that in every other one of these sections, we're going to make a score in the middle. And this is the measurements for those scores, or where we're going to put some marks. The first one is going to be at 1 1/8. And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to put a dot down here at 1 1/8. So we have 1 at this top score, and then we have 1 at this bottom score right here. And then we're going to go over to 2 5/8. And I'm going to put a dot right at the top of this box on that line. And then I'm going to come down here, and at the bottom of this box I'm going to put a dot. And then I'm going to come over to 4 1/8, put a dot down here, and take that down to the bottom of this square at 4 1/8. And then our last score is going to be at 5 5/8. Put a dot right here. You can use a pencil if that works for you. This is just better for me because then I can, I don't have to erase anything. So that is how we are going to score this. So I'm going to run down these scores for you one more time. This is 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3 inches, 3 3/4, 4 1/2, 5 1/4, and 6. We're then going to turn this and put it up like here, and we have our 1/4 of an inch down on the bottom here, and we are going to go ahead and score at 3/4, then at 1 1/2, then at 2 1/4, and then at 3 3/4. And then we're going to turn this back so the 1/4 inch side is over here, and we are going to score down or put a dot at 1 1/8, 1 1/8 down here. And it's always, this is at the bottom of this square going up, this is at the top of the square going down. The next one is 2 5/8. So right here we put a dot in here and a dot down here. Then the next one we're coming to 4 1/8, dot here, and a dot down here. And then the next one is 5 5/8. We're going to put a dot right here, and the same thing right here. and that is all the scoring and dotting that we need to do on this scoreboard. And I'll show you how we're going to do the rest of this scoring. I found if I do it in this steps and in this process, I think I'm doing my process in a couple different, just changing how I did the scoring on this. But really any way that works for you is best. I thought that if I was a little bit more methodical about this, it would make it so that I wouldn't cut something the wrong way or do something incorrect. So then you're going to have a hard time seeing it, but there's a little dot in the middle of this score. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to put my scoring tool, not my Teflon one, but my metal one, because I want to get this so that I can put an angle or a triangle onto this square. So what I'm going to do is put my scoring tool in this hole, and I'm going to bring it down to the corner of this. And for me, I find that it's easier if I go all the way along. Boy, I'm having a hard time with this ruler. My scoring tool is going under it. So I'm going to go down on this side. Then I'm going to go over to my next one. And then my last one right here. And you know, if you're not perfect on those, it's not going to be terrible. You know, you don't have to be perfect. Now I'm going back to my dot, and I'm scoring down to my other corner. I'm going to go back here, score to that other corner. This just makes it easier for me to try to keep the angle at the right distance for that scoring. All right, and then we're going to turn this completely around, and we have our other dots right along here in these 4 squares. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the top. I'm going to put my ruler up, and I'm going to score down there, and then score to there. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just make it as, you know, do as good of a job as you possibly can. Some of the angles might be a little bit off. You might be scored a little bit into another section, but for the most part, it's not going to matter. Just do the best you can do with keeping the lines straight and scoring properly. And I did try to do this on my scoring board at an angle, and it just didn't work for me. So this has worked much better for me. So now I have all my score lines in. I have everything in that's ready to go. And then I'm going to turn this around. So what we're doing is we're turning it this way, and we have our 1/4 inch here. And what I'm going to do is then turn it this way so I can cut. This is the long pieces in here. So we're going to come along to this section, and we are going to cut away this 1/4 inch and then this score here. And I'm going to cut out the score line. And I'm going to turn this to cut down here, and I've got this piece out. Then I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to cut out or cut down on all of these. Now, when I'm cutting down on these to the first score line, I am trying to, there are ones that we are going to cut away. We're going to cut away every one of these scores that are with where the big diamond is. So when I'm cutting these going along here where the big diamond is, you can see that, like, let's just take my big diamond. I'm cutting on the other side of the score line because I want to cut away. This is a score and this is a score. There's no score here, and I'm going to cut again where there's no score. And that just cuts the score lines out of our squares or tabs. So I've cut along here. Now I'm going to bend down this tab. I bent down this one. This is the blank. I'm bending that down, and then I'm going to cut away the score line at the top of that. And then I'm going to bend this one down, and I'm going to cut away this score. Well, I'm supposed to. And then I'm going to bend this down, and again I'm going to cut away this score. And we've got one left here. So then when I turn it right side up, you can see we have the 1/4 inch here. We have the 5/8 of an inch basically, or 3/4, I'm not exact sure. But then I have a tab here, skip one, tab here, skip one, tab here, skip one, tab here. And this bottom side is going to look exactly the same as the top. So I'm going to go again and turn it sideways because it's easier to cut. I'm cutting this score line away, and I'm cutting this score line away so that I get a nice clean tab. This will be a nice clean tab. So I'm going to cut the other side of the score line because I'm going to cut this tab away. I'm going to cut so the score line is cut away again. Make this a nice clean tab. Cut this score line away. Make this a nice clean tab. And then cut this score line away. So again, just like we did before, this is a good tab, so I'm going to bend that under, and I'm going to cut this score line away. Bend this one under, and we're going to be sure that score line is cut away. We'll bend this tab under, and I will cut this score line away. And we are left with one tab. So if you look at this, it looks exactly the same from top to bottom. And we can get rid of these pieces, or you can hold on to them for leftover pieces that you want to use on a card or something. So the next thing that I like to do before I get to putting everything together is I like to, now we've got the tall score line coming down there, and I'm going to fold on each one of these score lines. And as I'm putting this together like this, these score lines and these score lines down here, we want them to go in like a pocket. So I'm going to do all of that. And it doesn't have to be like burnished or anything. You can just fold it in and keep going down on those score lines just to kind of get some bend in your paper. And so, one thing too that I find is that my paper looks worse before it looks good. So don't be afraid of that. So then these are the little triangles that I'm going to do. I'm going to come along that and do that for all of those. And fold that down all the way along. Okay, so I have all of those somewhat folded in. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to burnish on the score lines going across. So I'm going to take this and fold this inside, and I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to burnish on those lines so that it makes it a little bit cleaner. And then I'll take this side. So on these 3 score lines that basically go around the egg, I burnish on here, burnish on here. So we've got our pieces there. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish on all of these score lines. So I usually start with, this is the 1/4 inch score line at the end of the egg, and I just fold that over, and I go straight down and I burnish every score line going along. And again, this will look, it won't look, if you're using the 80-pound, it might look like it's kind of just not folding really well or looking as clean as you'd like it, but I promise you, you will do fine. I made a whole bunch of these for Easter, and unfortunately I had taken my leftover ones to work to give away, and I forgot to leave them at home for me to share those with you, because the ones that I made for Easter and for work at Easter, I used 65-pound cardstock, and in some ways it actually looks a little bit better as you're folding and putting it together, because it's not looking like it's bent quite so much. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pattern paper on my egg. It makes it a lot easier to do it that way for me. So I've got my pattern paper all cut, and the first thing, all of the pieces are going to be 5/8 of an inch going across. 5/8 of an inch going across. The ones for this long sections, they are going to be 5/8 this way, and they will be cut at 1 3/8. Then all the pattern paper that covers any of these small boxes are going to be 5/8 by 5/8. Now on the other channel, or one that I watched, they put these, made them at 5/8, a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, because they wanted more of this green showing. I like the way it looked with this being a 5/8 inch and not the 1/4 inch. So just choose how you want to do it. If you want to go at 1/7 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch in to give yourself a border, or 1/16, or a 1/4. Do whatever works best for you. I'm using the 5/8 inch one. Then what I do with this is I use my glue, and as long as my glue is running pretty well, I just come along and I put all the glue down. Kind of sloppy, but it'll be just fine. And I put all my little cut pieces, every other one, where we have the tab. I'll put that down. And if I have to, I'll go back and add some more glue to the edges. All right. So that's our going across here. Now I have trying to use a couple different patterns here because I don't think I have enough of the florals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. So let's see. I don't know if I want to do this one, or I want to do that. Maybe we'll do every other one and just see how that comes out. So I think I'll try that. There are many different designs that these can be put into, and so just use your leftover cardstock with bright colors for Easter colors, and just to make it bright and pretty. And I think it looks good with all of the in white with the bright florals. I think it looks great. So Just try anything that you like. But I think I'm going to do some of these. The other reason why I think this is so good is that the Ukrainian colors are the blue and gold, and the sunflower is their national flower. And I thought how appropriate that is for, if you've ever seen those colored eggs that are just, oh, they're just amazing. They're so detailed. And it's very much something that is done for Easter in the Ukraine. And in fact, I've been researching it a little bit because I want to try making those eggs with all the different colored dye on it and the different patterns. I just think if I could ever do that, I would be so thrilled. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we're going to finish this off with just the floral patterned ones to kind of break up that solid. And I just put the glue down because, again, they just need to stick well onto this cardstock. And if anything looks like it's coming off, well, I can throw a little bit more glue on it. But doing this whole design takes a little while, so I kind of go through it pretty quickly because, you know, if you're going to make 30 of these, it could take a little while. But it's a fun project to do all year long, and then you don't have to sit down and do it all in a day or two. So then once I have all my pattern paper on there, I'm just going to go along and I'm going to fold, this is the 1/4 inch side, I'm going to fold that in and down, put my glue along here, and then fold this over to meet that side, folding this all the way over. Put that down. And then we've got kind of like a box. And the next thing that I would do is I would go to the bottom and I would put this together. So what I do with this is I usually put one of the tabs down like that and tight up against the other side. But one of the things that works the best is using your tweezers to kind of move it along these tabs, just to kind of hold that tight. Now, I've done several of these where I started to put this together and I got this glued, and I found that I had forgotten to crease these or crease this, and it doesn't bend or go together very well if you don't. So now that I have creased them and I have put these together, these they just bend in. And this is the wider part, it's the bottom of the egg. So we're just going to pull these in, and I'm going to put my glue along here, fold that over, put my glue along here, and I'm going to fold that over. And I can hold that down, or I can also put it down on my mat and use my bone folder and just press that together a little better. So we've got that folded like that. Then we can go back to putting one of the green colored, I'm going to put the green on the bottom. So I've got that on the bottom flap. And then we're going to turn this over, and what I've been putting in here is putting in the Cadbury caramel eggs, or they have eggs that are made by Lindt in a red wrapper, and also the cream eggs, whichever one you'd like to do, but one of these fits in there really, really well, and you could probably even put some jelly beans or some other candy in there as well, but they're kind of fun with just the one egg in there. Oh, I also put Reese's Pieces ones in there, so when you shake them, you can hear them rattling. So then getting close to the end, I'm just pushing in this top part, and I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to push this in and lean it up against the other side, that tab. Bring the other tab in. Use my tweezers, and you can see I'm kind of off here. So what I do is I'm just going to come along here and push that in a little bit, hold it down, get my tweezers again, my reverse tweezers, and kind of just work my way down that tab just to kind of stick it on there. And then we're going to come in with this part and we're going to glue that together. That goes down there. This one goes down over here, and you hold that down for a little while so it gets stuck. And I'm going to come back with this other little piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to put that on top. Now you can then glue on top of your string if you'd like to, maybe even string with a small button, and you can make it so that you can hang it from a tree. But otherwise, this is our egg done. And I know Sam also has on her channel an Easter egg basket. I just bought one from the store and put my eggs in there with some grass on the bottom, and we've got our eggs. Whether you lay them down or sit them up, it'd be fun to hang on if you have your Christmas tree up still, you could hang them on the Christmas tree. But that is our measurements and dimensions and tutorial for making these eggs. Thank you so much for joining me and letting me share this design of this egg that is I'm sure has been made by several other people. If you have any questions on the tutorial, let me know. Otherwise, I will put a link to Sam's her YouTube channel so that you can catch her tutorial for these as well. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and hope your weeks and months are good as well. We'll see you soon in the next video.